Today we're heading for the coast. Well, good morning. Yes, we're heading for the coast today, and it's another wonderful spring day down in Dorset. And we started today's walk from Lulworth, West Lulworth in fact. And I'm going to do, well, it's going to be a walk with a bit of a difference, I have to say, or maybe it's normal for me. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be walking. I don't know exactly what route I'm going to take, and the main difference is that my out route is not my normal out route. Very confusing. Well, I've started from Lulworth Cove. I'm going to head west along the coast path. Now, I don't normally do that. Normally, if I'm going to do a circuit from Lulworth, I'll do the inland part out, and I will walk back along the coast path. That's so that I get the evening sunset along the coast. And, well, as you know, also I run out of light invariably. So today I'm doing it differently. Today I'm going to walk out, head west along the coast path, heading down to White Nothe, probably down to Ringstead Bay. From there, I don't know yet. We're going to make it up as we go along, which is probably the best way, but it's a fantastic day, wonderfully sunny, slightly hazy, unfortunately, but never mind. It's going to be a cracking day. Hope you're going to join me. There's loads to see on the way, and I will tell you all about it as we go. So let's crack on. So we're starting off with a route that I don't normally take, or certainly not in the winter, because it gets up this valley gets quite muddy, so I tend to avoid this often in the winter, but it will take me to the Durdle Door campsite. I decided this is a more interesting route because it's quieter. Normally, if you're going to go from Lulworth to Durdle Door, you'll climb up the motorway, which is the usual busy path. So I decided I would avoid that this morning and come up the back way. So we are coming up a path which runs between Hanbury Tout, which is up there, and over that side is the road. That's the West Lulworth to Wool Road. So we're going up this lovely, quiet, peaceful valley, all on our own. I can hear the birds chirping here. Fantastic morning. It's really still. It's not meant to be much wind at all today, so it should be fantastic on the coast. So I'm really looking forward to getting out there. So once we reach the top here, I will probably head down to Durdle Door and then just head west along the coast path. So we'll be going over Swire Head Bat's Head, White Nothe, Ringstead Bay, and then we'll see what happens when we get there. Oh, that's looking back where we've just come from. That's West Lulworth, you can see down there, and beyond that the firing range hills. You can see how hazy it is this morning, but it comes hard when you park the car and the first thing you got to do is climb hills. Never mind, it'll get me fitter. Well, the coast is in sight. Currently going down what is a very busy path. As you can see, there are loads of people down here, school groups, all sorts, which I guess is to be expected, but it's not school holidays yet, as far as I know. Oh well, we'll soon pass through. Well, it's crazy busy. I really hadn't expected that. So this is Man of War Bay. It's said to get its name from these rocks that you see out here, which apparently are supposed to resemble a man of war vessel. Don't know that I can see that, but I understand it. This is one of those amazing views, I think, even though it's hazy. So Man of War Bay in the foreground, St Oswald's Bay, and then Dungy Head in the distance. And we've walked that beach before and I've filmed it. Spectacular place, I think. It's a shame it's so popular, really. I've actually just had a thought. I wonder if some schools are already off. I guess it varies, school holidays. I don't think the local one's off, but maybe others are. So you might think that considering the number of people there are here, it's very empty down on the beach. Well, that's because the beach is closed, because erosion has taken away the steps that go down to the beach. So it is currently quite empty. And that's where we're going. So the high headland in here is Swire Head. The headland beyond that, which is in here, is Bat's Head. With his eye, the arch goes right through. So that's where we're going. A switchback route. And this just spectacular. And suddenly, as soon as I've moved away from Durdle Door, there's less people. Having said that, I've just been recognised by someone. Always lovely when people stop to take the trouble to stop and say hello. They recognise me. So, John, if you're watching, it was great to meet you. Thanks for stopping to say hi. Wow, look at that. It's just mesmerizingly beautiful, I think. Thought I'd come down to the cliff edge to get a shot from here before I head off. So I have to say, I think John got it right. John, who's just stopped and chatted, he's doing, or done actually, similar to the walk that I'm doing, been down to Ringstead Bay, but he's on his way back. So he was an early starter, and I think maybe I should have done that. Problem with this, of course, is I've got to climb that whopping great hill in front of me. No, I haven't stopped for a rest, honest. I just wanted to film. Oh, it's hard work. I'm about halfway up, I think. Look at that. Amazing view. And will you ever see Durdle Door Beach quite so empty again? I'm not sure you will. Sadly, this is what I'm looking at the way I'm going. But you know what? There's no rush. One foot in front of the other gets you there. You just go slow. So today is officially the last Bovril day of the year. So can I hear some ahs? So my friend Bovril, I'm very sad to see the end, but you have been really good to me this year and you deserve a rest. No, and it's not a legal thing either. First day of spring, Bovril becomes illegal. Actually, the jar is empty. I scraped out the last of the jar this morning, and now it's not worth buying another one, to be honest, because I don't drink it in the summer. It's too hot, hopefully. So I need to change my drink. So it's officially the changing of the seasons. Actually made me think this morning of the past when I was scraping out the Bovril jar this morning. Made me think of when I was a kid, and I'm a Marmite baby and always have been, and it just made me think of when I was a kid and the Marmite ran out. and how we would scrape to get the last bit out. And when the knife failed, we'd get some bread and butter and cut it into soldiers and put that in and scrape that round the inside. And when that failed to get any more, we'd put our fingers in and scrape round the outside just to get every last bit. If scraping the Marmite jar was an Olympic event, I would have undoubtedly won a gold medal. So yeah, I thought about that this morning. Never mind, cheers. It's 11s. We're nearly at the top of the hill, so I thought we'd stop for a drink of Bovril. And very nice it is too. So we are at the top. And the thing is, what goes up must come down. But what comes down must go up. Well, that's the case along here anyway. So I've got to drop down now almost to sea level and then climb back up to the top of Bat's Head. But hey, that is no hardship when you have a view like that, is it? I think this is absolutely phenomenal. And it's a lovely balmy day with hardly any wind. Oh, this is where the climbing starts again. This one's not quite so high as Swire Head though. Worried about that person up there. They look like they're struggling. And there's a slope down from where they are as well. And they seem to be alright at the minute. So we're at the other end now, the far end of Durdle Door Beach. It's actually quite a long beach. Long trek along there on the shingle. They're still climbing. And I always go up the diagonal path here. Goes off to the left because that takes us out to the end of Bat's Head. I'll probably be puffing here, so I'll pick you up when we get to the top. So we're up at the top. Somebody there about to kayak onto the shore. I guess that's the way to access the beach. Amazing view. Gotta be one of the best views in Dorset. I'll probably say that about many, but we swing round. This is the tip of Bat's Head. Over this side we get White Nothe, distinctive shape as it juts out into the water like a drinking giant or lizard or something. It's supposed to be nose shaped. It's called White Nothe, but its Nothe really means nose, and it's because of the shape. It looks like a nose. And this is a beach which is hard to access because you can't reach it from this side, well, not without swimming, and you can't walk round, or at least, actually, I don't think it's possible to walk round White Nothe. At low tide, maybe you would, I don't know. Feeling people have tried it, but you wouldn't have much time to get back. It'd be worse than the Kimmeridge under cliffs. But it's a lovely view, and you've got the distinctive down in on the beach here. We've got the distinctive beach cusps. That's the way the tide or the surf rolls in these points. They've got points on them if you look closely. And they're like little channels, little grooves all the way along. We call that beach cusps. And there's several theories as to how they come about. I don't think any of them has been proven, but there are some places, and this is one. St Oswald's Bay and Bannerwar Bay is another one where they're prone and prominent. Interesting, I think. It's a really interesting beach surf line. Anyway, we got to walk on. Remember to pick my pole up so I don't lose it like I often do. See what that is. Maybe it's a skylark or something. I couldn't actually see it properly. So we've crossed the top of Bat's Head now. And we're about to drop down almost to sea level again. And then we climb up to White Nothe, which is going to be my lunch stop. It's another lovely view, isn't it? So many fantastic views down here. Really is amazingly beautiful. And it's actually quite atmospheric as well. A bit misty, just adds a bit of atmosphere, I think. There's some lovely hills inland as well. That is one potential way back. across there. We'll see what happens later. Might find I'm forced to shorten it, as I might run out of time. Who knows? I do have a propensity for running out of time. So here we are at the bottom again. Look at that, pristine beach with no footsteps in it. Right, we start to climb again. So once again, I'll pick you up at the top. Or if I stop part way up, of course. Well, we're halfway up. Stop for a breather. The good thing about this one is it's not quite as steep as some of the other climbs. It's probably no easier for that. At least it's a slightly more gradual climb to the top. But it's the same old mantra. 1 foot in front of the other gets you there. 1 foot in front of the other gets you there. 1 foot in front of the other gets you there. I use that one when I backpacked the Pembrokeshire Coast Path, because there's a ridiculous number of ups and downs on that path, and it kind of seems relentless. So I invented that little mantra to keep me going. So we're nearly at the top. It's looking back the way we've just come. I can hear a skylark above me. Don't know if the mic will pick that up. And at the top is the obelisk. Ringstead, 2 miles. So as you'll know, I've walked this path all my life, well, from the age when I was able to walk properly, of course, when I was a baby. And for many, many, many years, I wondered what these obelisks were about. I thought they might just be obelisks to mark some occasion or something. But in fact, they are not. Because one day, having wondered all my life, a few years ago, I decided I'd find out. So I started making phone calls one day. And I rang numerous people. Everyone I spoke to passed me on to somebody else and said, oh, you need to speak to these, they'll know. And it took a long, laborious route before I found somebody who could actually tell me what these obelisks are. And there's two of them. This is the one, of course, on the coast path. And the other one is off over the top of the hill. You can't see it from here, but there is another identical one across the hill. And I found out what they were about, so I will tell you. So from the look of them, they are obviously functional rather than decorative, and there are two of them, one inland of the other. So my first thought was it was some kind of measured mile, because it seemed obvious that they're meant to be lined up at sea, as near Durlston Head. There are mile markers, a measured mile at sea for speed testing craft. So I assumed maybe that's what these were and that they were lined up in that way. But that's actually not the case, although they are functional. So I actually found out the truth when I eventually was led to the Hydrographic Office, which is part of the Ministry of Defence, and they did some research for me, and they found an entry in a publication which is known as the Channel Pilot Part 1, some kind of seaman's guide to the British coast. Dates from 1908, and the reference actually says 2 white beacons 24 feet high for the use of His Majesty's ships when prize firing have been erected on high land east of White Nothe, now known as White Nothe. So that's part of the puzzle solved, that they are something to do with prize firing. But what was prize firing? So prize firing was a yearly competition to test battleships to see how well they could shoot, how accurate they were, to decide whether they were ready to go out to war. So it kind of explains it in part. It doesn't actually say how they were specifically used. So my take on it was that the ship, obviously there's an art in firing at sea. You have a ship which is moving and bouncing around on the sea, and the gunners have to try and accurately aim and hit their target. So there's a whole teamwork thing going on there. So I think they were probably put here with the intention that the ship at sea would be able to gauge how steady they were, because they could see whether these two were lined up. That would then tell them at least how steady they were in order for the gunners to fire. That's what I'm assuming, but I've never actually been able to bottom it out completely, what prize firing was. But that's what the two obelisks were for. So I did find out another interesting thing, and I've forgotten where I found this. It was something to do with, it must be in the Houses of Parliament, I think, when prize firing was being discussed. And I discovered this. This is on my blog, by the way, the dorsetrambler.com. So that's what I'm looking up. I'm actually going to read it from my own blog because I wouldn't remember otherwise. And this, I think there must have been minutes or something like that. So it says, I beg to ask the Secretary to the Admiralty whether his attention has been drawn to the fact that of the 127 ships that took part in the annual prize firing of 1901, while one ship made over 70% of hits and two ships made over 65% of hits, 75 ships missed the target 85 times out of 100, and 5 ships never hit the target at all. And that one admiral ship, the Warspite, was last of its squadron in heavy gun firing. So clearly the ships weren't that good at prize firing, and in 1901 when that report was made. So maybe that's why these obelisks were put here. Maybe it's something to do with that, to improve the quality of the prize firing. I'm not sure, but the whole thing about prize firing is the better you did, the more likely you were to be sent to war. So there you go. That's what this obelisk is, and the other one inland. It's another spectacular view, and that very hazy in the distance. That's just phenomenal. So we're now on White Nothe, the distinctive nose-shaped headland. And it's a really interesting place, this is. I think it's quite mysterious somehow. You can see in the distance coastguard cottages, or old coastguard cottages. But it's yes, a headland with some interesting things. And I think the cottage is one of those fascinating places. And one of the things there is on White Nothe is a seat. That's a seat with a view. So that's a good place for lunch, I think. That was a lovely spot for lunch. It is really hazy now. It's beautiful sitting here, looking at that view, eating my lunch. It's just perfect. So one of the intriguing things I think about White Nothe is these cottages, row of cottages. They are one-time coastguard cottages, and the largest cottage on the left with the extra floor was the captain's house, and then there are 5 others, I think it's 5, where the crew lived. And there was at one time 44 people living in this row of cottages, including wives and children, and they manned this part of the coast. But the intriguing thing about these cottages is that they are basically off-grid. So they have no mains electricity, they have no mains gas, they have no mains drainage or mains water, or at least they didn't have. I'm not sure whether that's changed and whether they may have had that fitted or not. I don't know. But they were totally off-grid completely. Their power, etc., is by LPG powered generator. The gas has to be brought up here in bottles, large bottles, and there is no road. There's only a track, like a farm track. So the people who lived here would have to go and pick up the bottles, have a 4x4 in order to bring them back here. So you need to be fairly fit to live in one of these. I used to know the lady who owned the large one on the left, the largest cottage. She moved out some years ago now and sold it, and I think that was bought by a couple of brothers from London, I believe, and the place next door also, which I think they've put into one cottage. But they've got solar panels. Otherwise, it's LPG generator to power it up. They've got the only running water, as far as I understand it, is rainwater that is gathered in tanks beneath the house and has to be pumped up to the loft, to the kind of tank, storage tank in the loft, in order to run anything. Don't know that you drink it. I think it's bottled water to drink, but you can probably shower and that sort of thing. Heating, I think, is by log burner with back boiler. I think some of them at least have back boilers that would feed a couple of radiators. So they do have some heating. I don't think there's anything mains that unless it's been fitted since the lady left, and I don't remember it. But they intrigue me. I don't know that any of them are lived in now. I think they're holiday cottages or second homes. In fact, I've got a feeling there can't be holiday cottages. I think there's covenants on them to stop them from being holiday cottages. I have a feeling there can only be second homes for the owner's use. But they've been re-roofed, I noticed, so that's looking a lot better than it was. Intriguing. I love these cottages, and they are, of course, in the middle of nowhere. So Ringstead Bay is right down the bottom there. That's where I'm intending to head if I've got time, but I'm going to be running short of time if I'm not careful. I think we better crack on. And of course there is wartime evidence here, as you'd expect. This is actually communications post, which is looking the worse for wear. You can see some walls have come down already. They stop people from going up to the top part. But there is, of course, the thing that White Nothe is famous for, and that is here. The Smuggler's Path. And it goes to the White Nothe undercliff, a steep, hazardous route, it says. And they're not wrong there. That's where I'm going. So this will take us down to Ringstead Bay, and we'll walk round Ringstead Bay in order to get to Ringstead itself, and then turn and head back. But this is the famous Smuggler's Path, which zigzags down amazing place. So it's an interesting path, this one. Very steep. And zigzagging down the end of White Nothe. And it was immortalised by J. Mead Faulkner in his book Moonfleet, where the smugglers, escaping from the excise men, clambered up this steep and dangerous path, and they managed to escape them, I think. Great book, Moonfleet. I've read it several times, including as a schoolboy. You can see Ringstead down there, which is where we're heading. But we've got to walk all through this lot down here. So we've got to continue down the zigzag. I have to watch I don't run out of daylight again. Problem is when you're filming is everything takes longer. It's quite a high headland, and of course the white part of White Nothe gets its name from the chalk cliffs. But we are still high up here. Beautifully rugged area to walk, and this is a spectacular path, especially with the connotations of smugglers. I wonder if it was ever used as a smuggler's path, or whether that just is stuff of fiction. In fact, I've got a change of plans. I have just looked at the time and it is 4 o'clock. So I don't think I'm going to have time to walk all the way to Ringstead, which is in the distance, which includes difficult paths down here, and then walking round the beach, a shingle beach, right the way to the village in order to get to the path that would take me back the other way. So I don't think I'm going to have enough daylight to do what I wanted to do. I think it's taken me so long to do the filming that I'm going to have to rethink. Not that I had any plans anyway, of course. So I think my rethink is I'm going to head back up the smuggler's path and get to walk it twice. We're back up to the top again. That was good. Muscle wrenching walking, that was. Should do the leg muscles good. In fact, I reckon it was probably harder walking back up that way than it would have been had I carried on along the beach and come up the more gradual route. Never mind. I decided this would be quicker. It might save me from walking in the dark. There's my lovely cottages again. Yeah, they do look very neat now that they've been re-roofed. It was a bit of a mishmash before. So, if you decided you wanted to live here, the track straight ahead in here is the track that gives you access to it. So I think probably a 4x4 is what you'd need, I think. That's the cottages from this end. This end room, incidentally, the single-storey one at this end, was the gun room, apparently, which also doubled as the social space for the men, I think. Coastguard Cottages Pub. I think that's probably what it was. Fascinating place, and part of our history as well, I have to say. Loads of history in this row of cottages. Right, for a while we're back on the flat. So we are back here again. I'm about to skirt round this lovely valley to reach the obelisk again. Now I can actually see the second obelisk. And if I can point to it very well, but it's there, you can just see the top of it. And obviously the one we saw is over here. So that's the two that line up. And I'd hope the drone would be able to line them up, but I couldn't seem to do it. It's probably my eyes are not good enough. It's a lovely evening. It's even stiller now than it was. There's obviously hardly a breath of wind. So I think I'm going to essentially go back kind of the same way I came out, as in I'm following the coast path. There is a couple of diversions I can take, which will take me round the next valley to Bat's Head, instead of going down to sea level and climbing back up. There's probably one beyond that as well that I can take. We'll see what happens when I get there. But so essentially I'm going to follow the coast path back as well. I was going to do a loop, but actually what is wrong with walking out and back, actually, because this is absolutely wonderful here. I love this valley, steep-sided, sloping right down to not sea level, has to be said. You can't get to the beach from here, but I have been down that. You can walk actually down the bottom and then climb back up the other side, but it's not an easy walk. Up there is the obelisk. But yeah, it's just a lovely valley, I think. It's like a huge, great bowl. And over this side, it looks like the sun's beginning to come out again. Fantastic. And there's our friend the obelisk again. They were painted white, incidentally, originally, but that's all worn off. So coming up, we have one of the diversions that I'm going to take. Lulworth Cove. Oh, Lulworth Cove 3 miles, Durdle Door 1.5 miles, but I'm going to go left and go to the Warren, Scratchy Bottom. So you can see here, I came up this way, which drops right down to sea level and then climbs up Bat's Head. But I'm going to go back just for something, a bit of variation. I'm going to take this track, which will actually skirt round the top of the ridge. And we'll come out onto Bat's Head just the same. Oh, sun's definitely out. I've got a shadow. So that's Bat's Head over there. The way we went out was along the coast path, which drops right down into the dip and then climbs back up again. But this way will take us along to the ridge in front, and then we drop down the ridge onto Bat's Head that way. So it's a different view. That's what I like about it. It kind of gives you a different view of the coast from the way you'd normally walk it. Oh, we seem to have lost the sun again. The cloud came back over. So we're on Bat's Head. And it's closed in a lot down there. It's really misty. Ah. Oh, well, it's quite a bit different to what it did when we came out. It's really misty. It's a lovely bit of sun on the water there, though. So I always come out onto the point of Bat's Head. And that is because, well, partly because you get these amazing views down both sides. Absolutely phenomenal. But the other reason is when I drop down off of Bat's Head, I find it a lot easier to come down this path that kind of slopes down. Generally easier than going straight down the main path. So there is method in my madness. And all the while, we have this view to look at. It's just spectacular. Totally awesome. And it's a phenomenal evening as well. So, the climbing starts. So I could actually go through the gate and go up through the valley, but I think I'm going to stick to the coast. You never know, we might get a sunset before I finish. Well, we're at the top of Swire Head now. Amazing evening. Actually, from here you can see the eye, where I can point it out, the eye of the Bat's Head. The light reflecting the other side of it. Amazing, such a fantastic evening. But atmospheric with all this mist and softness. And here we are again, looking down over to Durdle Door. Some people on the beach now, so I guess they've sneaked down somehow, down the broken, disappeared steps. Amazing view, isn't it? Just I've run out of words to describe it. So I'm having to take my time going down here because my right ankle and right foot are absolutely complaining, and they have been for the last mile or so. I'm kind of limping along. So, and I've still got to go up another hill yet, or two hills in fact. Well, it's a good job I'm used to pain, isn't it? Just look at that for a view. The sun going down. Absolutely spectacular. So actually, my camera has just warned me that my battery is going to die soon. So I think I'm going to sign the video off at this point in case it does. So with Durdle Door over my shoulder and Bat's Head in front of me with a setting sun, I'm going to end the video. It's been an absolutely fantastic day. I've absolutely loved it. I'm so glad I came to the coast with hardly any wind. I've been able to put the drone up. We've had not sunshine all day, but enough sunshine. I didn't quite do the whole route that I was going to do because I had intended probably to get to Ringstead Bay, but I'm so glad I didn't because I'd have run out of daylight, and my, as I say, my ankle and my right foot underneath my toes, I get pain. I think it's referred pain from the ankle. So I'm so glad that I decided not to go along the beach because that would have been a killer probably. So all these hills have been killing enough for my for my ancient legs. Anyway, it's been an absolutely amazing day. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it interesting seeing the sights. I know I've been here before, but well worth filming again, I think. So anyway, thanks so much for coming with me. Hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I've absolutely loved it. But for now, this is me, the Dorset Rambler, saying, until next time.